Way back in 2014, shortly after starting the very first iteration of the Everyday Marksman on a free WordPress blog, I went to a 2-day Project Appleseed event. It was a hot August weekend in the hills of Santa Barbara, California. And while most people brought along a Ruger 1022 or something similar, I showed up with an iron-sighted 20-inch AR that eventually became my M16A5 project. And I came up a few points short of earning my rifleman patch that weekend. This whole experience was the best introduction to rifle marksmanship that I think I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that the instructors intertwine the teaching of marksmanship with a bit of Revolutionary War history is just a cherry on top. Now, not long ago, I told you that for the rest of this year and probably into next year, my focus is shifting to pistols. And with that, I've been working through dry fire drills, reading books on the topic. And then I discovered that in the last couple of years, the fine folks at Project Appleseed have put together a pistol training course to coincide along with their excellent rifle training that I did 10 years ago. Even better, I looked at the schedule and saw that there was one coming up here in Virginia on October 1st at the NRA headquarters in Fairfax. So I signed up way back in July and started the wait. And today I'm going to tell you how that went, what was the experience, and to be honest, it was awesome. Now, before I get to that, welcome to the Everyday Marksman, the podcast where it's all about tactical skills for living a more adventurous life. I'm your host, Matt Robertson. Our website's everydaymarksman.co. There you'll find today's show notes, our awesome community of marksmen, the blog, the podcast, the YouTube channel, all of that great stuff. Please come check it out. Hit that big green subscribe button. All right, let's get to it. I know it's been a while since I've been talking to you. Life has been pretty dang busy, and I just had a lot of projects going, and one of the things that had to get put on hold was recording podcast episodes. Sorry about that. I have still been writing, though, so you come by the website, everydaymarksman.co. You'll see what I've been up to. So let's get to Project Appleseed. Just about every story within Appleseed revolves around the events of April 19th, 1775, which you may know as the Battle of Lexington and Concord. This was more or less the official start of the American Revolution. And way back in the late 1990s, Jack Daly wrote a series of pieces in Shotgun News under the pseudonym Fred. And while the articles were partly about advertising, Jack's business, which was Fred's M14 stocks, they contained bits of history and a call to develop basic marksmanship skills. Eventually, this spun off into a CMP-affiliated group known as the Revolutionary War Veterans Association, who went all over the country teaching rifle clinics called Appleseeds. Now, like the namesake, Johnny Appleseed, the goal was planting the seed of patriotism and tradition of marksmanship skills in all participants. Now, without going into detail, know that every Appleseed event involves telling the story the 3 strikes of the match. Each part of the story occurs during breaks in between blocks of marksmanship instruction. So the 3 strikes is, full of historical figures like General Thomas Gage, British Major John Pitcairn, Militia Captain John Parker, James Barrett, and a bunch of other figures kind of going through the events of that day from the time the British got off the boat and Paul Revere's ride down to the retreat down Battle Road. Now, the story is really entertaining. And as much as I want to put my full faith that it's totally historically accurate, I think it mostly is. I do pick up lots of little details they talk about that I've never heard anywhere else. And I would have to go do my own, checking on that historical record. But I do love the story. And I think it's something everybody should hear at some point in the way that they tell it. And the goal of all this is saying that when the day started, the British greatly underestimated the colonials and the militia and their willingness to fight effectively, because a lot of their experience had been in the French Indian War and then just didn't have a lot of respect for the unprofessional militia. Well, by the end of this day, on April 1775, that perception had changed. They realized that the American militia was a formidable force when they organized, and it could bring a lot of ferocity to their fighting. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the pistol clinic itself. So let's go through the sequence of the day. After the initial safety briefings, we went out to the range. And as with my rifle experience 10 years ago, the very first thing you're going to do is shoot a red coat target. Now, whereas the rifle course uses these kind of F-type silhouettes, the pistol clinic uses a tombstone-shaped target, which is reminiscent of something you might find at the CMP action pistol shooting or the Bianchi Cup, just a little bit smaller. Now, with the red coat targets, there is no scoring rings or anything like that. The only thing that matters is that hits. You have to either hit the red target or at least break the line. So anything counts. And what they're going to do is have everybody fire this target very first thing part of the day. And their goal is really to see where you are at. All right. How much attention are they going to have to give to what you're doing throughout the day? So in this case, there was 3 tombstone targets representing the same target at different distances, and then a small red circle they call Pitcairn's button. And the purpose of this is to get the 3 tombstones and then see if you can hit that one Pitcairn's button with a single shot. If you do the rifle one, you'll recognize this. It's the same kind of principle as Daniel Morgan's shingle. Now, a new thing that happened in this event that I've not seen before, and I don't know how recent this is that if you clean the target, so you hit all shots on the tombstones and you hit the button, then you get a special patch that's up to the shoot boss. So I did this. I cleaned the target in the very first day, and I got a cool little patch that says Sic Semper Tyrannis on it. We put a picture of it in the show notes to this episode. Again, everydaymarksman.co. You can check it out there. So I was pretty happy with that. I was the only one to clean the target that day. And then we moved on to the actual instruction. So the basic pistol instruction covered all the things you expect to see, from stance, grip, sight picture, breathing, trigger control, kind of moving from single hand to reloads, kind of all of that stuff. And much like the rifle clinic, this is all really good instruction. And after each lesson, you go fire a series of drills on targets. The instructors will help every student implement what they heard during the lesson. And the expectation was that students would see incremental improvement of their shooting after every lesson, practicing every new item until they got to the end of the day where you would shoot the red coat target again to see how much you improved. For most of this instructional period, there was 2 targets that we had. One was a series of 20 3-inch circles, which I actually really like this target. I'm going to buy a bunch for my own use because Appleseed sells them to whoever wants to buy them, and a bunch of tombstone targets, which are just some little practice versions of the tombstone that you would do at the qualification test and the red coat. Also, pretty useful target. Might buy a bunch of those too. They're nice and cheap, so why not? So where did I have a weak point? Granted, I cleaned the red coat target at the start of the day, so they didn't give me a whole lot of attention. They were kind of like, you know what you're doing, which is fine. I understand. There were some people there who were brand new beginners. They needed a lot more attention. But where I did have a weak point actually was the ball and dummy drill. If you've never done a ball and dummy drill, let me explain to you what this looks like. So the idea of the ball and dummy is to look for how you're controlling the pistol and do you have a flinch. And the way they did this is they took live rounds and a dummy round, and they would randomly load the dummy round into the magazine and then hand the pistol to you. So you didn't know where the dummy round was, and they would have you slow fire as controlling everything you possibly could, make perfect shots. And when you hit the dummy round, a lot of people, including me, had a distinct nosedive on the pistol when we tried to anticipate the recoil of the gun. This happened a lot more, obviously, when I know I'm shooting a 9mm or higher. When I shoot the rimfire, okay, that's not really a thing to worry about. But I did use my P10F for that piece of instruction, and I definitely had a little bit of anticipatory flinch, something to work on through more dry fire. It's a fantastic drill and one you can definitely do on your own, though it works best when you have a shooting buddy who can randomly insert a dummy round in the magazine so you don't know where it is. Now, this whole thing ends with the pistol qualification test. So just like the rifle version, they have the Appleseed qualification. This is the pistol qualification. Because this was a one-day clinic, we only got to do this twice. And I remember when I did the rifle version 10 years ago on a 2-day event, we shot the rifle qualification one time at the end of the day one and did it like another 6 times the second day. But on this pistol clinic day, we only did it twice the entire day. And this actually is 2 separate target sheets. So whereas the rifle one's all in one, the pistol targets are large enough to do it over 2. 5 stages, all shot at 7 yards. Stage 1 is 10 shots, rapid fire in 15 seconds. Stage 2 has 2 smaller tombstones and you need 2 magazines, one with 6 rounds, one with 4 rounds. And you're going to alternate 2 shots on each of these targets, which are positioned side by side. So you're going to alternate 2 shots left, 2 shots right, 2 shots left, 2 shots right, reload as needed, until you end up with 6 shots on one and 4 shots on the other. And you have to do this in 15 seconds. Stage 3 and 4 is one-handed shooting. So 5 shots in 15 seconds with one hand on one target, and then 5 shots in 15 seconds with the other hand on the other target. And stage 5 is precision slow fire. There are 4 small tombstones at the bottom of the paper. You have 2 minutes to place 10 shots across 4 targets. 2 hits each on the first 2, 3 hits each on the second 2. And then for this stage, they double all the points. And all the tombstone targets have scoring rings on them, 5, 4, 3, so on. That's the PQT. And I'm happy to say that on my very first run through, which I did it with a Ruger Mark IV with a dot on top, I scored a 230 out of 250, which qualified me to earn the Pistolier, the coveted Pistolier badge. You need to get at least 200. And I was a little frustrated because I probably could have gotten 4 or 5 more points, but my Ruger had a misfire or a malfunction during the stage, which just cost me a round. So I was supposed to shoot 5 shots. I only got 4 off before the thing jammed and I ran out of time. That kind of sucks. I'll be putting that in my review of the Mark IV if I bother doing one, because at this point, who doesn't know what a Mark IV is? So it may not be worth it. I did run it again with a CZ P10F that has a Trijicon SRO on it, and I scored a 213. So I got the patch again. This was a really good evaluation of pistol skills because it involved reloads, it involved single hand shooting, it involved transitions between targets. So I was pretty happy with how I performed. We also had a bonus drill on the day where they had a big dot, little dot target. So imagine this is a big sheet of paper, 2 vertical lines of circles, starting with like a large circle and then getting decreasing in size. And then the second set starts with the small one and gets bigger in size. We ran it twice. So I did it one with each pistol and they timed it. So you had 2 hits on each circle and then you would add 2 seconds to your time for every one that you missed. I was frustrated again because my Mark IV had a malfunction that cost me 2 shots at the end, though I still ended up with the fastest time. And then I ran it again with the CZ and also won with the fastest time. So I didn't win any patches to that one, but that's fine. All in, I would say that the Appleseed Pistol Clinic was a fantastic introduction to pistol shooting. Just like the rifle shooting, I think this is a perfect way to introduce a new shooter to the fundamentals of marksmanship, whether it's rifle or pistol. It's just a really good experience. So for someone like me who's been doing this for a long time, this was, a nice refresher of how to do all the basics. It was nice to see that I haven't forgotten how to do things in all my years of rifle shooting. But I think this would be fantastic if you brought along a friend who just wanted to learn how to shoot, had never really shot much before outside of a safety briefing. This is a really good introduction. Usually you'll see kids out there, teenagers who are this is their introduction. And I think it's a great way to go about it. How did the guns do? This is probably a separate article, but I'll go ahead and say that I took a Ruger Mark IV, a stainless target that I bought a couple months ago with a MiProLite MPO-F dot on the top, which also pending review for that, and my CZ P10F with an SRO on the top. CZ P10, 0 issues. I mean, it's been a fantastic pistol ever since I got it. It's my go-to competition pistol. It's just a great all-around pistol. The Ruger had some ejection problems. So I'm going to have to go diagnose these. I was shooting Ely Club 40 grain ammo for the entire thing. And it just, every once in a while, it would just fail to fully eject a spent round. And I would get like this weird stovepipe, which then locked up the round below it. And I would lose the round, whatever round it locked up. I'd have to eject the magazine, cycle the action, and then keep going. So in a limited capacity gun like the Mark IV and under limited time, every round that I lost just cost me points in the qualification. So I have to figure that one out. Probably means a new extractor. Maybe it's an ammo selection. We'll see. I was very happy with the MiProLite MPO-F dot though. So look for that one in the future. I probably won't do a podcast about it, but at least you'll get to see the notes. What I think about it. It's a nice open. They have a closed version, but this is an open version. Has a nice circle dot reticle that's selectable to be just the circle, just the dot, or circle and dot. Worked really well. Very happy with that, and it's not very expensive, so that's always a bonus. All right, that's going to be it for this report. So, by the way, when we shot the red coat target, at the end of the day, everybody made progress. However, I did not clean it the second time I shot it with the CZ. I did center punch the button at the end, so I was pretty happy with that. I think the Pistol Clinic continues the Appleseed tradition of being an excellent introduction to marksmanship. The curriculum is a solid foundation. The qualification test is an excellent measure of general marksmanship ability, and I highly, highly recommend you find one near you, either a rifle or pistol version, and go do it. Just go do it. If for nothing else, it's time to get out to the range and learn a little bit of history along the way. All right, that's it for me today. Not a terribly long episode. Just wanted to let you know what I've been up to, and I hope you're having a great day. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.